Carl Jung, the great explorer of the human psyche, once said that the soul of a woman holds secrets the world may never fully understand. Secrets that are not written in books, not spoken aloud, and not visible to the naked eye. Yet when a woman carries a deep spiritual power within her, she leaves traces unseen by the eyes but unmistakable to the soul. These traces have nothing to do with outer beauty, money, or social status. They are not achievements one could list on a resume. They are quiet forces that shape her radiance, the way she moves through life, and the way the atmosphere shifts the moment she enters a room. The truth is, most people do not understand such women. Some are drawn to them like moths to an ancient flame, while others feel uneasy or intimidated without knowing why. But those who can see beyond appearances recognize something extraordinary. Today we speak about 6 hidden signs of women with high spiritual energy, inspired by Carl Jung's psychology and the concept of the sacred feminine. Each of these signs is more than a character trait. It is a kind of initiation, a clue to why such women live differently, feel more deeply, and carry both a great gift and a great burden. These qualities of the spiritual woman were explored in Jungian psychology through the feminine archetypes and the work with the collective unconscious. Stay until the end, for the last sign explains why misunderstood women are often the most powerful, and why spiritual solitude is proof of their authenticity. Sign number 1. The silent presence that changes energy. Imagine a room full of noise, laughter, and superficial conversation. Suddenly, a woman enters quietly without seeking attention. Yet the atmosphere changes. Conversations pause for a moment. People look up, feeling something they cannot name. This is the first hidden sign of feminine spiritual power. The aura of silent presence. In his psychology, Carl Jung spoke of the so-called mana personality, a person who radiates a mysterious, almost magical energy, so that others sense they are encountering something greater than the ordinary. It's not about appearance or deliberate behavior. It's a quiet, natural authority that requires no words. A spiritually strong woman radiates calm that speaks louder than any spoken word. Her silence unsettles those who are used to noise and distraction, and at the same time attracts those who recognize in her a center of peace. This presence cannot be faked or imitated. It is born from countless inner battles won in silence, from storms no one saw, from the wisdom of a woman who has walked through her own inner darkness and returned transformed. Jung saw in this presence the embodiment of the sacred, feminine, an archetypal force that touches the divine without outer rituals. A woman who has done her shadow work carries an authenticity that others instinctively feel. People can rarely explain why they are drawn to her. They simply sense she carries something ancient, timeless within her. Her energy does not seek validation. It simply is. And that very being changes the mood of every room she enters. This form of spiritual power often reveals itself in small moments, in the way she listens so deeply that one feels truly understood, in the calm she maintains amid chaos, or simply in the effortless way she inhabits her own body, without apology, without making herself smaller. That is the second hidden sign. Yet Jung would say, presence alone is not enough. Behind it lies something deeper, something born from pain and personal transformation. Sign number 2. The wound that turns into wisdom. Every woman with strong spiritual energy carries a deep wound within her. Not the small scratches of life, but a fundamental injury so deep that she was forced to enter into dialogue with her own soul. Perhaps it was the loss of great love, a betrayal, a childhood full of misunderstanding, or the painful loneliness of always feeling different. Such soul wounds are no accident on the spiritual path. Carl Jung called this principle the wounded healer. In his psychology of the feminine soul, he observed that those who have suffered deeply often develop an almost supernatural ability to guide, heal, and inspire others. Not because they have read about suffering, but because they have lived it. For a spiritually strong woman, the wound is not a story of victimhood. It is a gateway to transformation. The pain is not erased, but integrated and transmuted into a kind of spiritual alchemy. This is the process of emotional healing that Jung considered essential for spiritual growth. While others spend their lives hiding their scars, she integrates hers. Her scars are like a star map, guiding others through darkness. She does not wear them as medals, but she does not hide them either. They are simply part of her story, painful chapters that deepened her understanding of human nature. That is why she is not frightened when confronted with the pain of others. She does not judge, nor does she comfort with empty words. Her gaze quietly says, "I know where you are. I've been there. And I survived." That is why people trust her. They open up, share their darkest secrets, and feel safe. Even in their brokenness, they sense that she is not afraid of their shadows, because she has already embraced her own. She speaks not from theory, but from experience. She has walked through the valley of tears and emerged not harder, but softer, more compassionate, more human. This is one of the most striking characteristics of spiritual women in Jung's theory of archetypes. The wound has become wisdom. Pain has become strength. And precisely because of that, her presence has depth. Yet, there is another sign, one that explains why she sees things others cannot. Sign number 3, the intuition that reads the hidden language of the world. Jung devoted his life to exploring the unconscious, this vast ocean beneath the surface of human behavior, where motives, fears, and truths lie concealed. A woman with high spiritual energy is deeply connected to this collective unconscious. Her intuition is not a vague feeling or coincidence. It is a clear perception, sharpened through silence, shaped by suffering, and refined through years of paying attention to what remains unspoken, the subtle currents that move human reality. She sees beyond the surface. She recognizes the fleeting expression of pain behind a forced smile, the brief glance that betrays a lie. She hears what is left unsaid in conversations, senses the tension between words, the emotions that others cannot perceive. For her, reality has layers, and she can read what others cannot see. This intuition is one of the strongest, but also most challenging traits of spiritual women. It can deeply unsettle others, because they feel seen through, sometimes more clearly than they understand themselves. In her presence, masks fall. Secrets grow heavy. Facades collapse. Jung explained this phenomenon through the concepts of anima and animus, the feminine and masculine aspects of the soul. Women, with strongly developed intuition, are in touch with inner realms, inaccessible to many. This is not magic, but a highly refined psychological sensitivity. Some are drawn to it, yearning for the truth it mirrors back to them. Others withdraw, afraid she might see something within them they themselves cannot face. Yet her intuition is not a weapon, but a light, a mirror. She does not use it to judge but to understand, not to wound but to heal. According to Jung, this is the true essence of feminine strength, not using power to dominate, but to illuminate. A spiritually developed woman knows her intuition is a gift that comes with responsibility. She can see the shadows of others, but she also recognizes her own. This humility protects her from spiritual arrogance. Jung once wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." When you meet a woman with such intuition, you never leave unchanged. Whether you accept it or resist it, you are touched, transformed within. Her perception is not limited to people alone. She also reads situations, group energies, unspoken tensions. When she enters a room, she immediately senses the hidden power dynamics, the unresolved conflicts, the silent friction in the air. Yet this gift of insight carries a price, one that few are willing to pay: the necessity of deep solitude. Sign number 4. Her sacred relationship with solitude. We live in a time afraid of silence. Solitude is seen as a lack, a failure, a sign of defeat. People flee from stillness, numbing themselves with distraction, screens and noise. They fill every moment with superficial connections to avoid meeting themselves. Woman with strong spiritual power is different. She does not flee from solitude. She seeks it. She does not experience it as emptiness, but as fullness. Jung saw spiritual solitude not as painful withdrawal, but as a sacred space where the unconscious speaks to the soul. Without silence, he believed, one cannot hear one's own soul. For this woman, solitude is a temple, a place of healing and inner gathering. In silence, she listens. In silence, she heals. There she collects the strength she later shares with the world. You might picture her sitting alone in a cafe, or out in nature. She is not on her phone, not running from the moment. She is simply there, attentive, calm, fully present within herself. This calm is not a sign of sadness, but the mark of a woman who has made peace with herself. In Jungian psychology, this is part of the process of individuation, the path toward becoming who one truly is. Such periods of withdrawal are not escapism, but necessity. A spiritually evolved woman needs these spaces to process the emotional and intuitive energies she absorbs. Silence recharges her soul. This is another hallmark of the spiritual woman, the ability to be alone without feeling lonely. She has cultivated such a rich relationship with her inner world that solitude is not deprivation but nourishment. She reads, reflects, creates, meditates, simply without the constant need for distraction. Yet this relationship with solitude often makes her misunderstood. Others think she is strange, cold, or distant. In truth, they only project their own fear of stillness onto her. They cannot comprehend that her solitude is not a prison wall, but a source of power. Jung described this through the archetype of the wise woman, the one who has journeyed inward and found a richness there that no external relationship can replace. She does not reject relationships, but she does not depend on them to feel whole. Solitude allows her to continue her shadow work in peace, without distraction. And that leads us to the next sign, perhaps the most challenging of all. Sign number 5. The courage to dance with her own darkness. Carl Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." This statement captures the essence of his psychology and the nature of feminine spiritual growth. A woman with true spiritual power has walked through her own darkness. She has done the shadow work, that brave process of confronting the parts of herself she once suppressed or denied. Fear, anger, envy, despair, chaos. It is not a beautiful path, but the hardest and most terrifying one a human being can take. Look into one's own abyss without fleeing. That is the rarest form of courage. She has acknowledged her jealousy, her rage, her destructive impulses, and her selfish sides. And precisely because she has done so, she does not fear the darkness of others. When others sink into shame, she remains calm. When others are overwhelmed by pain, she holds steady. She can sit with suffering without needing to run away from it. In this encounter with the shadow, she meets a key figure in Jung's psychology, the animus, the inner masculine archetype. For many women, an unintegrated animus appears as an inner, critical or sabotaging voice. But the spiritually evolved woman has learned to enter into dialogue with this inner masculine principle, has transformed her animus from an inner tyrant into an ally. She integrates his clarity, logic, and determination without losing her feminine essence. Her strength lies not in denying darkness, but in embracing it. She does not pretend to be pure, flawless, or untouchable. She knows that wholeness arises only when light and shadow coexist. For light without shadow is an illusion. True power is the ability to carry both within oneself, and to endure the tension between opposites. Jung developed an entire methodology around this concept. He understood that women often misunderstood by society are precisely those who have integrated aspects of themselves that culture prefers to repress. They are too intense, too emotional, too direct, too wise, too powerful, and that is exactly what makes them extraordinarily resilient. The storms that would destroy others become their teachers. Chaos does not break them. It refines them. They have realized that every crisis is an initiation, every loss an opportunity to release what no longer serves them. This is the deepest form of emotional healing. Not a return to an old state, but a radical transformation in which something entirely new emerges. Yet there is another, more mysterious sign. Sign number 6. She is a bridge to the collective unconscious. This is one of the most mystical characteristics of spiritual women. They often sense a connection that goes beyond their personal lives. Their dreams are vivid, filled with symbols and archetypes that feel ancient and universal. Jung called this the collective unconscious, a deep reservoir of experiences, symbols, and memories shared by all humanity. While most people barely scratch its surface, these women are like channels with access to ancient wisdom. They feel an uncanny familiarity with myths and legends from cultures they have never studied. The feminine archetypes, from the great mother to the wise crone, are not abstract ideas to them, but living forces within their psyche. They often experience what Jung called synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that seem orchestrated by a higher intelligence. A book falls open to the exact page they needed to read. They think of someone, and at that very moment, that person calls. Certain symbols appear again and again, mysteriously guiding them. The modern world calls this coincidence, or magic. But they know it is the language of the universe, showing them they are on the right path. They live in constant dialogue with the mystery. They do not need rational proof because they have learned to trust the impulses of the soul and the signs of the cosmos. This connection to the collective unconscious also explains why they often feel like strangers in their own time. Within them live memories older than themselves, wisdom drawn from a deep, perhaps even ancient source. Jung believed that certain women have easier access to this realm because the divine feminine has always been the guardian of the unseen. In ancient cultures, it was the priestesses, the oracles, the healers, who served as bridges between the visible and the invisible world. The modern woman carries this same archetypal role within her. Even if today's society no longer has a name for it, she is a seer, a healer, a guide without titles or certificates. Her authority comes from her direct connection to the depths of the human soul. If you feel a resonance while hearing these words, it is because something within you recognizes this truth. It is no coincidence that you are receiving this message right now. And it is precisely this deep connection with the unseen, with symbols and ancient wisdom, that often makes her misunderstood in a materialistic world. So what do these 6 signs reveal about women with high spiritual power? They show that true feminine spirituality is not loud, not ostentatious, not showy. It is silent. Presence, wisdom born of pain, intuition sharpened through sensitivity, love of solitude, courage to face darkness, and connection with the collective unconscious, that eternal source beyond time and space. These traits are not random qualities, but the traces of the individuation process. Jung described the life journey through which one becomes who one truly is. They are signs of profound inner transformation. And if you recognize these traits within yourself, remember, you are not broken, not strange. You are awakening. These signs are invitation signals that you are following a deeper, more authentic path, the path of the divine feminine. And if you know such a woman in your life, honor her. Do not try to change her or fit her into a mold. Simply be grateful for the light she casts on your path, for women with high spiritual energy are rare, They are at once fragile and indestructible, gentle and wild, human and more than human. They carry within themselves the paradox of life itself. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." For these women, that is not chance, but destiny. It is the calling of their soul, one they cannot ignore, without losing themselves. The final question then is not whether you carry these signs, but whether you will accept them. Will you have the courage to live your truth, even when misunderstood? Will you embrace your power, even if spiritual solitude accompanies you? Will you allow yourself to be too much? Because if you do, you will experience the central promise of Jungian psychology, that the highest purpose of the feminine soul is not to escape suffering, but to transform it into light. True feminine power does not arise from perfection, but from wholeness, from fully embracing one's humanity. Women misunderstood by society are often the most complete ones. Their spiritual growth has carried them beyond ordinary limits, and though this path can be lonely, it is one of the most precious journeys a soul can take. If this message about the psychology of the feminine soul has touched something within you, share in the comments which of these 6 signs you recognize most in yourself. Your story might be the light that helps another woman feel less alone on her path, and believe me, right now there are many women searching for the same answers. In the coming videos, we will delve deeper into each of these feminine archetypes. We will explore specific methods of shadow work and learn how to integrate your animus to achieve inner transformation. This is only the beginning of a much deeper journey toward self-realization. Until the next video, and remember, your spiritual feminine power does not need to be understood to be real. Your connection to the divine feminine needs no external validation. You are a bridge between the visible and the invisible, and that alone is enough.